All right, good evening, my friends, and welcome to ACIM Talks with Reverend Jim White. And it is Monday, April 15th, around 7 p.m. Eastern. And I'm happy to be here. You all look your usual happy, joyous selves. So we've got I guess quite a few things to cover tonight. So, unless there's something you'd like to share first, why don't we get started on our agenda? And one of the things you may not know is that this month is the first anniversary of ACIM Talks. We've been doing this for a whole year now this month.
Wow.
And
Nice.
so I just thought I'd take a little trip down memory lane, and I put together a handout I sent you. Let me pull it up on the screen here as well. And it's just kind of a summary of some of the things that we've talked about on this program over the past year. And I looked at it, I captured what I could, but I think I still left out a few things. Oh boy. Didn't we do Wayne Dyer, a series of Wayne Dyer videos here too? And somehow that's not on the list, but I just put them down as videos. We're starting to read the ACIM and Unity book, but before that, we took a look at an ACIM and Unity video. And we covered things from Yogananda to Barbara Marx Hubbard to Les Brown, the motivational speaker. And we did that interesting segment, only part one of a complete video on the Bhagavad Gita. And of course, we've done some music in that, but mainly we've been focused on book excerpts and writings. Earth School, my book, and I think maybe the longest one we've done so far is ACIM and the 12-step program. I thought that was very enlightening.
Yeah.
We took an interesting look at A Course in Miracles, a kind of a unique approach. We spent some time just looking at the introductions from the preface of the book introducing A Course in Miracles, the introduction to the text, the introduction to the workbook, the introduction to the manual for teachers. And I thought those were valuable studies as well. We've done some shorter excerpts from other books, including The Four Agreements with Don Miguel Ruiz. And we've started and are still embarking on our ACIM Oracle reading that we came up with together. So just so you don't miss it, all of these things have come about from that statement in the course that I mentioned to you a year ago. It says, A Course in Miracles is but one version of the universal curriculum. There are many others. And for the most part, my objective in showing these things with you and discussing them with you is to see how they line up with the truth as presented in A Course in Miracles. And did you see a lot of commonalities, or were there some contradictory things that stood out? Anything you want to say about these things in general?
I saw a lot of commonalities. I thought it was great.
Yeah. Joan, Ron?
Yes, I also saw a lot that completely agreed with the Course.
Yeah.
Right? The truth is true.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah. There's kind of only one truth. And when humans get involved, they start nitpicking it and nuancing it and analyzing it. You know how we do, right? I mean, it's our nature. It's born of this differences ideology that's so ingrained in us. But I thought if I could show you, I didn't put earth, wind, and fire in here because we heard some very spiritual things from earth, wind, and fire. But I did it because for me, when I can start hearing the same thing from so many different places, it helps to confirm the veracity of it and helps me reaffirm my commitment to it, because I really think I'm on to something and that it's valid. So the Course is but one version of the universal curriculum. There are many others. And so I hope you'll join me in saying happy anniversary to ACIM Talks with Reverend Jim.
Happy anniversary.
Hey,
Happy
thank you.
anniversary.
Excellent.
I'm sorry I missed the discussions with Wayne Dyer, because he was the gentleman that got me started in my spirituality.
Oh, but
Ah.
we did some of those on Tuesday also. So you may have
Yes.
seen some of them anyhow.
Yes.
And Wayne, remember he used to do the PBS specials years ago?
Oh, yeah.
And
Yeah.
back in those days, it was just captivating for me. And it was a program that just really held my interest. And I think it was before A Course in Miracles, but I just enjoyed those programs. So I'm like you, Ron. Wayne Dyer was one of my encouragers in this pursuit.
Right.
So, having said that, I'm just looking at the agenda here. You want to get into our study of unity and A Course in Miracles,
Yep.
and we'll spend some time there, and then we can go back to our Oracle text reading. So with that said, I'll stop the screen share and we can get our reader list going. D is number 1, Joan is 2, Ron is 3, and I'll be 4. And we were still kind of in the preface of unity and A Course in Miracles. Page Roman numeral 31, the title is How to Use This Book. Can y'all find it okay?
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. So last time we read the introduction to the book, and now we're into how to use this book. So Dee, why don't you get us started with that, please?
Okay, how to use this book. This book has no starting point or ending point, even though we have put the topics in a sequence that makes sense to us. You may choose to read any topic at any time. The reference for the Unity resources are very straightforward and follow conventional guidelines for such references. The references for A Course in Miracles proved more challenging as many editions of A Course in Miracles are available and in circulation.
You know, any comments here? I would just offer that as you read through the book, you'll see the superscript numbers. If you go in the book to page 185, hold your place and just flip over to 185. Do you see that section called End Notes?
Uh-huh.
So anytime we're reading and they quote something, they're gonna give a reference number. And starting on 185, those reference numbers goes from reference 1 all the way up to 592. So that's pretty straightforward and traditional in terms of setting up that reference list. So I just put a sticky note on page 185 to at least get me to where I can see where that quote came from. So if that's helpful to you, it starts on page 185.
Thank you.
Certainly. Joan, you want to go to the next paragraph there?
Sure. Our understanding, research, and presentation of the teachings of A Course in Miracles for this book utilizes the 1992 edition that was published by the Foundation for Inner Peace. This edition was based on the first edition that was authorized by Helen Schuckman, PhD, the scribe of the original material. The original typing of Helen's notes by William Thetford, PhD, is not edited and not redacted, and is now being published and disseminated as A Course in Miracles Urtext manuscripts. Reference to the Urtext material is not included in this book.
You know, the 1992 edition, I have a copy of it here that I'm looking at, does not have the supplements. So this is like the second edition was 1992. And the third edition is the one with the supplements that most of us are probably using. Can you just look at the copyright page of your Course in Miracles book if it's easy? It should say third edition and give a copyright date.
I have the second edition.
Ooh, so you don't have
My
the
supplements are
supplement.
separate.
Okay. All right. I was trying to be lazy and not get up to go get my other book. So we don't have to belabor it, but this is the one with the 3 books and not the supplement. Was there anything else there in paragraph 2 that you wanted to talk about?
Well, it says that the 1992 edition was based on the first edition that was authorized by Helen and the original type notes by Bill, and is not edited and not I don't know what that word is.
Redacted,
Yeah, what's
right?
that?
I think nothing is left out to me. It says not redacted.
And that's the text.
Well, I got confused here now. Yeah, because now it's talking about the Urtext manuscripts. And
So,
I've
yeah,
only had a very brief encounter with the Urtext, so I'm confused there too.
yeah,
You,
and yeah. So yeah, I'm confused.
and I thought you might also perk up at not redacted as
That's
you did.
yeah.
And it says the edition was based on the first edition that was authorized by Helen. Okay. And the original typing of Helen's notes by William Thetford is not. Can someone read that sentence? The original typing. Joan, read that sentence for me. The original typing. Maybe
Okay.
I'm reading it
The
wrong.
original typing of Helen's notes by William Thetford is not edited and not redacted and is now being published and disseminated as a Course in Miracles Urtext manuscripts. That would make sense that nothing is left out because the Urtext has all of that.
And I think what they're saying is kind of a caveat that we're not dealing with the original typing and the one that is not redacted that is being published as the Urtext manuscripts, and that the Urtext material is not in this book.
And it probably was before the CE edition came out
Yes,
that this was written.
I think so too. And by the way, the copyright date of this book that we're reading is 2016.
And I'm trying to think, that's around the time that the
Of
CE
the
edition
CE
came
edition.
out.
Yeah. Okay. Well, what I'm hearing them say so far in this paragraph is that they make no claims to other editions. They're only going to use the 1992 edition for this book. Their references are only coming from the 1992 second edition of A Course in Miracles. So I don't want to belabor it. There's much more, but I was confused by that paragraph, and
Me too.
hearing
Yeah.
Joan read it over offered me a bit of clarity about it. But those things notwithstanding, Joan, you finished reading the second paragraph, right?
Right.
So Ron, you want to pick up next with?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
The following guide is intended to help the reader locate their references in A Course in Miracles. The page numbers are used to reference material in the course refers to the second edition published by the Foundation for Inner Peace in 1992.
Why don't you read more, Ron? Let's keep.
Okay. The material for A Course in Miracles is included in 3 books: the text, the workbook for students, and the manual for teachers. The text provides a theoretical foundation for the teachings. The workbook for students is a series of daily lessons a student can use to apply the teaching and integrate its concepts into one's daily thought process. The manual for teachers, including the clarification of terms, provides more specific information about questions commonly asked about the course. Text, workbook, manual for teachers, and clarification of terms.
Well, does that coincide with your understanding of the different books in the course and what their purpose is?
Yes.
What their purposes?
Uh-huh. Like, what is the purpose of the text? It provides the theoretical.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we're already familiar with that. And again, just a technical point, you'll note that the clarification of terms is really a supplement to the manual for teachers. First noted it because it was in parentheses. So just a technical point there. What they're going to do next, William Heller and Paul Hasselbeck, are, do you know, when I wrote Earth School, part of the biggest, well, interesting work for me was figuring out how to quote A Course in Miracles. And notice the references, like on page 185, they were pretty straightforward from the unity quotations. But the course is such a complicated book. Like, I have to just give you examples. And I remember having to work on that when I wrote Earth School, and offering a convention of how you understand these references. And so to me, that's what they're doing here, an example of how references to the text are stated and how references to the workbook or the manual for teachers, or notice in the manual, they even had to give that last example from clarification of terms. So to me, A Course in Miracles on a lot of levels is the most complex book I've ever been involved with. I mean, maybe even more than the Bible for me. It's even reflected in the unique nomenclature that you have to use to find stuff. The other thing about the course is it's not written linearly. It doesn't have a beginning, a middle, and the end. And first we'll talk about this, and then we're going to discreetly talk about that. The course isn't like that at all. One of my other books, not nearly as famous as Earth School, was called Phrase Reference to A Course in Miracles. And what it was something like, I don't know, 1,500 of my favorite phrases from A Course in Miracles. Maybe that's how I know the book so well, Joni, right? From having to write that book. But they were 1,500 of my favorite phrases, but they were in alphabetical order by topic, by subject and topic. Because I found, and maybe a lot of course students, you read all of these deep passages or these beautiful passages, but you can't remember where you saw them.
Mhm.
And you can't even say if it was at the beginning, the middle, or the end
Mhm.
easily. And so when I see this layout of nomenclature for referencing this nonlinear course where it may say anything at any time, and yet it's saying the same thing over and over in different ways, you'll see that challenge to me where all they could do is give you examples of how to structure the reference. I'll shut up on that. Is that okay? We doing good?
Yeah.
Comments from you? All right.
Yeah, I
Well,
guess I've been doing it so long, I don't find it complicated. It's just like natural to their nomenclature, their references.
by the way, so do you have occasion to where you want to look up something, Dee?
Oh yeah, it's all online now. It's so easy.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I was going to say. And, the ACIM app or others you may use have these search engines and then when you find it, it'll tell you the nomenclature for it as well. But without that, just left up to the old human mind, it's
Hmm.
mind-boggling. So,
And yet there were certain phrase, like everyone knew if you said page 90 what that was. Everyone in the ACIM community, that prayer.
oh
It
God.
was
Wait,
no the
is that about only the beautiful things what is it? I
I
don't
think
know
it's the
page
one
90.
where you hope that you're wrong because you're not happy. That one?
Oh, really? Well, let me turn to it right now. All right, this is ACIM Talks. So I'm going to page 90.
I must have decided wrongly because
Oh,
I am not at peace.
I
I
got
made
you. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like everyone, you just said page 90, everybody knew what it was talking about.
Okay, well, I can help you correct that right now. Everyone doesn't know what.
Okay.
But yeah, now that I see it, the other one is page 28. I'd say that's the one everybody knows. Take a look.
Okay, what's that one?
Well, just can you turn to it?
Of course. I just figured you'd tell us.
Surprise you.
Okay.
What do you see there on page?
The truly helpful prayer. Yep.
Yeah. Now that's the one that just kicks in with me.
Okay.
So, anyhow, the course is a very interesting writing on a lot of levels. Um, why don't we go ahead and continue? I think it's my turn, right?
Right.
Yes.
So we finally made it to chapter 1 on page 1, and it's called Laying the Groundwork. We offer this book as a means to understand the common path to spiritual awakening found within Unity and A Course in Miracles. Their teachings differ from what has been offered through traditional Christianity. However, the essential concepts of both Unity and A Course in Miracles share common roots with traditional Christianity, the teachings of Jesus the Christ. Through experience and contemplation, Unity and the Course both offer a deeper and more contemporary understanding of Jesus's message as derived through the continued evolution of our consciousness and ability to comprehend his teachings in a different light. Comments?
It sure is through a different light.
Yeah, it
It's
sure
great. Yeah.
is.
I like that phrase, the continued evolution of our consciousness.
Yeah. And there's a Bible quote. I remember putting it in Earth School. I'm afraid I can't quote it right now, but it's from the New Testament or one of the versions of the New Testament. And it was speaking of the birth of Jesus. And it said, a light shone in the darkness, but the darkness did not understand it.
Hmm.
And I think that may be very true, considering how our interpretation of Jesus's birth and life and crucifixion and what we used to think it meant compared to how we've evolved in our understanding of it. So that hit home to me. Do y'all have any other questions about this paragraph? All right, Dee, we're back to you.
Those of you who are Unity Truth students are aware of the difference from traditional Christianity that brought you to Unity, and you have furthered your studies and spiritual development under these guidelines. The Fillmore teachings are basic, and over more than 120 years, Unity has further developed the message that the Fillmores discovered and offered. We believe you have found such teachings work in your life and provide you with a practical working sense of Jesus's message.
Could you read the next one also, Dee?
Students of A Course in Miracles have had the same experience through their studies. They are experiencing a greater sense of the love that Jesus the Christ had offered through his teaching. Gratefully, many of us who have studied both teachings have found the common thread between them and are convinced that these teachings complement and even amplify one another.
Yeah. And you may as well finish this section, please, ma'am.
Admittedly, this book can only represent our own understanding of the teachings of A Course in Miracles and the teachings of Unity. Some of you may not agree with our understanding of either or both teachings. Ultimately, you, the reader, must come to your own conclusions.
So comments there, experienced course students. Talk to me about the Fillmore teachings. How much do you know about Charles and indeed Myrtle Fillmore, and how many of their writings have you read? I have read, I don't think I've read an entire Charles Fillmore book. I've read some sections. Again, I remember doing some research when I wrote Earth School. If you'll remember, there are quotes from Fillmore in some of my teachings from Earth School. But to say that I've heard of some of his writings, but I can't think of them even right now.
Mm.
And yet they're so profound, even the little bits that I did read. I've heard people, Kenneth Wapnick, a lot of course students, a lot of things he used to say, they were a little deep for a lot. Wapnick, some course students didn't like Wapnick that much. He was hard to understand. And I get that same feeling from Fillmore, but I'm thinking I need to go and read some Charles Fillmore and spend some time with it, because the revelations that he apparently had and wrote about are profound, particularly 160 years ago. So the course, I don't know, mid-60s, published in 1975, 76, but Fillmore goes back to 1869 or so.
But I wonder if it was more common back then because of the lack of medicine.
What do you mean?
I mean, when you didn't have a sophisticated medicine, that's when this was commonplace to use your mind for healing. It was more commonplace back then.
Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah, yeah.
I mean, I think that's where it all started before medicine came about.
And yet, the Fillmore writings I'm familiar with go deeper or are more global than just healing of illnesses and that. I know Myrtle Fillmore had a lot of healings from her prayer work and that, but Fillmore talks about existential things in the same way that the Course does.
Yeah.
Fillmore said that Jesus Christ is the example or the archetype of the future human. I remember reading that and I'm saying, God, that's so coarse. Barbara Marx Hubbard, the futurist, said that we are evolving toward a universal humanity. It's like, you know how what goes, the caterpillar makes this cocoon and this whole new creature evolves out of it. That's what Marx Hubbard said the human species is going through. And I've heard other writings where they talk about, the word Christ and crystal have close meanings. And it speaks of a time when humans won't have these heavy bodies, but will have light bodies, crystalline types of bodies, significant of our evolution. Y'all ever heard any stuff like this? Yeah. And so Fillmore talked about the existential issue and the evolutionary issue. Certainly a part of that may have been healings. I know Myrtle was very focused on the healing part. All I've read so far in this book has made me want to spend more time with Charles Fillmore and Maria Fillmore. So that's my talk on it. What say ye? Anything? Am I talking too much?
No, I'm in agreement with you because years ago Kenneth Wapnick was way above my head. It was just I just didn't get him, and these days I'm appreciating his teachings more and more.
Yeah, me too.
So probably the same way with Fillmore. I agree. I haven't read that many.
Yeah,
and I probably would get more out of it these days.
I would too. So it's back on my reading list. Okay.
Yeah.
Shall we continue?
Yeah.
Dee, we're up to you. Are we at students of ACIM have had the same experience? Is that where we are?
Um,
Or did we read that?
the history
Uh,
of
do-
unity in A Course in Miracles.
well, we're on, uh-oh. Wait a minute. I'm sorry, I'm on the wrong page. Thank you. Yeah, we're at the history of A Course in Miracles, and you just read that, so we're up to Joan, aren't we?
Okay, are we on admittedly?
Uh, we're on page 2,
Page
the
2.
history of unity.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
Okay, this is the history of unity and A Course in Miracles. Does some sort of separation or rift exist within your unity community between those who study A Course in Miracles and those who identify themselves as Unity Truth students? Is there a perceived distinction between those who practice unity principles and those who study A Course in Miracles? Unity's relationship to A Course in Miracles, a spiritual teaching first published in 1975, has been most perplexing. Initially, A Course in Miracles, was well received within the Unity community. Many found this message a more likely description of Jesus' teaching than is found in traditional Christian churches.
you want to do the next one, Joan, please?
Sure. Unity students who looked into these teachings found them to be congruent with Unity basics, though more in content than in form. However, over time, some resistance arose to A Course in Miracles within the Unity community. It was even banned for a time from Unity bookstores because it was considered to be, quote, channeled, unquote. Yet many who have found unity were also attracted to A Course in Miracles. Today, while there are still some unity churches and centers that are not accepting A Course in Miracles, many unity communities offer A Course in Miracles study groups. In fact, Unity Sunday lessons often are sprinkled with quotes and concepts from A Course in Miracles.
Yeah. And so, if there are no questions, Ron, would you finish that section?
Yes.
And we can probably stop and switch over to our oracle reading in the course. But
I
I'm
think as
excited.
far as a religion goes, I think unity is the biggest supporter of the Course in Miracles. I mean, most unity churches have a Course in Miracles study group. And I can't say that of any other denomination.
Yeah, I mean, I can't say it exactly, but I would agree with you that overall there's a lot of commonality and support of the course in the unity environment. I was a little surprised though at what they're talking about here, how the course first found favor in the unity. And Ron, why don't you pick up and finish this section? You'll see what I'm talking about here.
Yes. Even so, in many Unity churches and centers, A Course in Miracles students and Unity Truth students do not intermingle much. This separation or rift may exist because of the mistaken belief that one method must be correct, right, or better, while the other is wrong or less than in some way. This separation is not necessary. Addressing these perceived differences is the reason we have written this book.
Yes, please finish this section.
Keep going.
Yes, please, sir.
This type of separation is a form of what the Course calls special relationships, a worldly concept where one person or belief must be correct at the expense of another. This type of separation is particularly ironic in A Course in Miracles community where the central message is one of practicing forgiveness to end separation and to heal relationships. The disharmony that arises from this perceived conflict between two belief systems can actually detract from the individual spiritual journeys of everyone involved. It blocks their realization of a deep common truth, their awareness of their own shared divinity. Eliminating the conflict is a way of practicing forgiveness and healing the relationships that are involved.
Yeah. What are your comments here?
Surprises me
Which part?
that there is a rift.
Yeah, it kind of surprised me too. And yet, I have very little knowledge of the background administration of Unity churches. You know, there are two entities. There's the Unity churches, and then there's Unity Worldwide. And so when you look at the background and just with the superficial brush I've had, I'm surprised at how much controversy there is at the administrative level, at the clergy level, even of the various Unity churches and that. So, yeah, like, okay, maybe we got the wrong name if we're calling it Unity, but isn't that just human nature? No matter, we're just humans doing the best we can, right? What do you think of what they're saying in this paragraph about the disharmony that arises from this perceived conflict can actually detract from our individual spiritual journeys? Wouldn't you agree?
If we let it. I mean, if we're following either one of these, probably Unity or the Course, it would not, that those don't support it being a detraction.
You know, it's like, to me, I'm more Course in Miracles than Unity. But I don't detract from Unity.
No.
But there are those who want, well, only one can be true or the best. And again, it puts up separation that detracts from a lot of our individual spiritual journeys.
But that's not what the teaching is about at all.
My point exactly. It's almost like, what'd you do? Miss the point?
Yeah, you're really studying it?
Yeah. And that's why I think the authors are saying that this type of understanding and riffs, part of the purpose of this book is to help bring them back into alignment with one another. So that's my thought on it.
Mhm. I remember reading quite some time ago, quite a few years ago, that there were three differences between Unity and the Course, and I don't remember what they are, but just only three things that they differ on. Otherwise, they're pretty much congruent, as you say.
Yeah. One of the things I found, and maybe it's because I don't know enough about Unity, is the course says the world isn't real. And it's very assertive about saying that.
Mhm.
And I never hear that message in Unity that the world is just, that the world is a dream and an illusion. But that's not to say that the course is the only spirituality that says the world is an illusion. If you read some of the Don Miguel Ruiz, the Four Agreements, and you read the preface, also some of other Don Miguel's books, based on Toltec Native American lore, it calls the world Quixote or some mitote, and it translates the same as the Hindu word Maya. Y'all know that term, Maya?
Yes.
What's it mean?
Illusion.
The
Yeah.
world of illusion.
Yeah, and I saw that same idea in Miguel Ruiz books, but I've never heard that said out loud in Unity. Have you?
No. In fact, they speak about the divine nature within, but they don't say that it's an illusion.
Yeah. So that's one point of contrast that I've definitely noted between the two. I don't know if that subject's
I
gonna
think
come up
there's
in the
another
book.
one that
Yeah.
God made the world, and the course says that we made the world.
Yeah. Yeah. And Unity doesn't depart from that kind of biblical creation
Right.
point.
Mm.
Or maybe at this point, I should say it's silent on that point.
Mm.
And that's a big difference between Unity and A Course in Miracles. But you know, it's so funny. I was at church yesterday, and Reverend Cindy, her sermon was, it got to the point, remember in the course where it says in chapter 6, teach only love, for that is what you are.
Mhm.
And Reverend Cindy's message on us being love and having to act from that, from our true nature, she calls it, lined up so perfectly with what the course says we are in truth.
Mhm.
So I like Unity. I like the course, and I'm excited so far just getting into this book. I think we're gonna find some valuable stuff that'll help with maybe some of our questions, being both Course in Miracles and, as they say it, Unity Truth students. So I think it goes without saying that we're probably should not even attempt to go to our next item on the agenda tonight.
Oh, yeah.
Uh, I figure I'll just stick in on the agenda, and we have our own kind of natural pace, which I think we should continue to respect, and we'll do what we do that night. Is that okay with you?
Perfect.
All right.
Yeah.
Plus, we actually get to end on time tonight. How's that?
Unusual.
Very
Miracle.
unusual.
There you go. Miracle. I like your word better.
So next time we'll pick up on page 3, a matter of semantics, right?
Okay.
All right. So I thank you for being here this evening, and our thoughts and prayers go out to our friend and family member, Kathleen, that she'll be back with us next week. Shout out to her. And are there any final comments?
Happy anniversary.
Thank you again on that to all of us.
Yes.
I hope you had a good time, my friends.
You did. It was
Yes.
interesting.
Have a great rest of your week, and I'll see you next time, okay?
Okay.
Thank you.
Take
Thanks,
care.
everyone.
Thank
Good
you.
night,
Namaste.
everybody.
Have a blessed
Bye.
week.
Thank you.